Andrew has requested me on Patreon to review the Disney animated movie Brother Bear. This is generally considered an okay film within the Disney canon and not one of the studio's strongest efforts, but I personally have a soft spot for it. I did see it in theaters, although not intentionally. For whatever reason, Brother Bear did not grab my attention much leading up to its release. However, when I went to see Looney Tunes back in action, it was sold out, which is surprising when you look at its box office numbers. So of the films that were starting up soon, I went with Brother Bear, although I did return the next day to watch Back in Action. It worked out though, because I quite like the film. I think it tells a nice story about living life in someone else's shoes and seeing this other side. I particularly like the spiritual element with people being connected to animals and how their spirit continues after death. Kenai serves as an interesting protagonist for a Disney animated film as he's a flawed character who decides to take revenge on his brother by killing a bear. And a while after he turns into a bear and goes on this journey with a cub named Coda, he's not particularly nice to him or other animals he comes across. This is not the first time a Disney animated film focused on a character who turns into an animal, teams up with someone he eventually befriends, and learns to become a better person, as The Emperor's New Groove was released a few years earlier. But while that was about a selfish character who only cared about himself, Kenai is more hot-headed, and his decision-making is based on vengeance over a family member and only seeing bears as monsters. It was probably a tricky task to get the audience to warm up to someone like this who cold-heartedly kills an animal in the first act, but I think they pulled it off. Although I do feel the movie could have benefited from being a little longer to allow for more development. Joaquin Phoenix was a surprising choice to voice the lead in a Disney animated film, and because he has such a distinct voice, I do find it strange hearing it come out of a young North American indigenous man, although it becomes less distracting after Kenai is turned into a bear. What's also strange is that Pocahontas had previously cast indigenous actors to voice the Powhatans, so I'm surprised Disney did not do that again here. Coda becomes a fun character with Jeremy Suarez bringing a lot of energy to the role. He's just trying to make a friend and tries his best to lift Kenai's spirits during this journey, although there's also a lot of heartbreak knowing what happened to his mother. People might think the reveal is obvious, but I think that's the point. We know the truth will eventually come out, and it makes the scenes where Coda talks about his mother even sadder. However, I do think the scene where Kenai confesses what he did could have been handled better. When it happens, we don't hear most of the dialogue, as the film chooses to play a Phil Collins song over it instead. However, that was not the original plan, as the audience was initially meant to hear the full confession. The actors recorded the dialogue, and the scene was partially animated and storyboarded. The vocal performances are genuinely heartbreaking, and it was a really emotional scene, so I disagree with the final decision to replace most of it with a song. Although I should mention the Phil Collins songs in Brother Bear are quite decent, with On My Way being my favorite. I just don't think this particular song was utilized well. Regarding some of the comic relief, I personally enjoyed the presence of the moose Rotten Tooth. Part of that does come from them being voiced by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, basically reprising their Bob and Doug McKenzie characters from SCTV. I think they're very funny, and the filmmakers smartly use them just enough, only having them pop up when necessary. I also like the moment they share with Coda, which does play a pivotal role in his character development. As expected from Walt Disney Animation Studios, the animation is stunning, whether depicting the Alaskan environment or the character animation. I particularly want to shout out the animation on Kenai when he's a bear, which is very expressive and handles both the comical and dramatic scenes extremely well. By the way, the supervising animator for Kenai in bear form was Byron Howard, who would receive a well-deserved Annie nomination for his animation in Brother Bear, and would then later direct Bolt, Tangled, Zootopia, and Encanto. Brother Bear was notably the third and final feature film to be made primarily at Disney's animation studio in Orlando, and it really highlighted their ability at depicting the people and setting of a specific culture following Mulan and Lilo and Stitch. Each of those films look and feel distinct in how they portray China, Hawaii, and Alaska. Overall, I do think Brother Bear is a solid animated film with quite a bit to appreciate. It handles its themes on prejudice well, along with a message about the lasting side effect that seeking revenge can have. I don't mind taking a journey with these characters. Now, if you've seen Brother Bear, let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for the request, Andrew.